Akwaba, welcome to Tikyiile Talks. This is a platform where I, Tikyiile, have conversations with people from different walks of life who share their thoughts and pass their story thus far. I hope you enjoy. So, welcome back to Tikyiile Talks. This is episode 8 with Alicia Barrett, back on the show already. We're going to be talking about all things racism. So we'll kick it off, no playing around. What is racism in your eyes?
It's it's so loaded, isn't it?
Yeah.
I think it's so visible and invisible.
I think it's more invisible than invisible.
Yeah, way more invisible. Yeah, like you don't. I feel like you're made to feel a certain way.
Okay.
You don't understand why you feel like that, and then when the conversation opens up, it's like, oh, really? That was.
That's the bad definition. I feel like what racism is basically like.
I didn't even finish, but
No, because
Where you go, you know when you're
I
finishing.
know it is. Like she knew where I was going. I was just gonna curve it.
no, because you need a definition. I feel like it is the act of being of othering people. So like
Yeah, so
way,
that's the definition. I'll
Yeah.
maybe give you an example.
yeah, example, yeah.
Yeah.
So I think that a lot of things is like I think within school specifically, it's not what they said. It's like how they act. It's like how they
How
acted,
people
or
actually,
their whole change in body language, or the way they treated you compared to someone else, which might not have been like openly saying like something
So
racist.
how was it? Can you give us examples in school? How?
Because I think like
always used to touch my hair.
Yeah.
I've never even thought about it. Always used to touch my hair. I remember one of my best friends, like, he was like, oh, you look like a rabbit because you had like curls at the back.
Yeah, I got
Wow.
one guinea pig.
Yeah, and they used to say some horrible things about this other girl as well. In a couple of years ago was about her hair too.
I think everyone thinks it's a language thing where you say something derogatory in language, but I don't think it is.
Yeah,
I think
it's
a
more
lot
than
more.
that. It's like being.
It's been in an
ignored,
environment.
I think.
Yeah.
I think being ignored was like a big thing in school, which I kind of felt.
Being ignored, you
Like,
say?
yeah, just like what you're saying doesn't matter, and it's just like.
Why is it not so?
Yeah. Like, I never felt listened to. I don't think until maybe like when I went to uni, and especially like my second and third year at uni. Like I felt people in the room was actually listening to me, whereas in school I never felt like that. I felt people was like falling asleep.
Yeah.
Why is that? Why do you think?
I don't know. It was just there's like massive, especially from our teaching group to like into sixth form. Like people like in the teaching group didn't stay on to sixth form, and like the atmosphere was different. And I feel like we just never really listened to it. Maybe for like a couple of people in the teaching, like really.
Yeah, I didn't really care.
Yeah, it's like you wasn't really
Yeah.
bad.
And yourself as well, though?
Yeah, but I think with my experience, I feel like I think you brush a lot of things off, and I feel like especially recently where a lot of people were kind of like talking about how they were, it's like discrimination, openly discriminated against.
Right.
You don't see it as discrimination, you literally just see it. I think a lot of
It's
times,
normal life.
yeah, and you just think, oh, why did they do that, or like, why did that happen to me, or they such and such did this and they didn't act that way to me. You just literally just take it. I think that's the biggest example of racism, because you don't necessarily see it, it's very invisible, but when you can come back to it and you re-approach it, you're like, that was you being othered for a way that is completely like unnecessary, rather than someone saying something to you that's like obviously like racist or disrespectful or anything like that, because I don't
It's like
think
they're being racist, but they're not being direct. But
Yeah,
it's just like you said, the way they're acting and
yeah.
thinking. And the thing is, because it's so subconscious, you don't really think about what's going on. You deep it, like maybe like you said, years later, you think, hold on a second,
yeah,
I probably shouldn't have taken what I've taken because of what happened.
yeah, definitely.
Even like, this is a bit of an odd example, but you know everyone's watching Normal People?
Pardon?
Normal People.
Okay,
It's like a TV show
alright.
about like these two people, like, and stuff. So in the book, she goes to Sweden and she like is with this Swedish guy who in this book is described as like white and blonde, as Swedish people mostly are. But in the TV show, he was like a black mixed race guy, and this character was like abusive, like towards the woman, and but they played him as black in the TV show, and I was just like, that's not good, because that's playing up to stereotypes of what people expect black men to be like, and it's obviously different to the book, and it's like stuff like that is like, it's not saying it, but it's like
it's
in
really,
between
it's
the lines.
confirming, it's confirming all that
reframing
sort of attitudes.
stereotypes.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of stuff like that kind of like goes on everywhere around. You know, like people think it's okay to fist bump you. It's just like raw, like no. Do you know what I mean? Like little stuff like that, or like they'd like say like that's obviously overt, but then it's like it's the landscape that we live in, it's the society we live in, that it's like okay to do those things and it not be racist. Like, I'm not racist, it's just like
not racist, but
yeah. That's how I describe it. I say people will be like they're like their neighbour, they feel like a black person moved in next to them, I'm not racist, but, and they'd say something like discriminated towards a neighbour, and it's just like, are you not seeing this?
So what's the book for? You're not racist, full stop, and don't say anything else.
Yeah. But we say that like the word racism has so much like agnosty against it, where it's like actually, it's not the word, you're rejecting the word, but the act is so much deeper. It's like an
it's like, look, you can't really define it, but you know it's there when it's there.
Exactly, 100%. I was talking to Uncle about this, and I was going for like an internship. It was to do with like the university. He was talking about decolonising the curriculum, and so we were talking about examples of racism, and we were talking about it within this like report. And he said that he can walk into a pub and he can tell within like seconds if they're racist or not, because they'll look for that second longer, or they'll just the whole body language changes, and you really can see it.
That's interesting.
And like they don't have to say anything. They literally just have to give you that eye contact for like half a second longer, or they have to drop like their shoulders or anything, and you can just feel you can feel like the animosity. And I remember when we was like younger, we went to like Alton Towers, and we were really hungry, so on our way back we went to Matlock. We was quite young, we was only like 12, 13, but we were going with our training group.
Okay.
And I remember Dan and Levi, so it was all of us were like, so it was me, Alicia and Levi were like mixed race, and then Dan is like black, and they were so racist, and we were so oblivious to it, like we were just like, we just didn't pick up the signals. But I think when you get older, you get.
They said things like what?
They like
just how
their body language.
Oh right.
Was completely like different, and then as you get older, you really realise how people completely like not change, but they're very on guard, and I think that is British racism, because they will say I'm not racist, but their body language will change. They'll stare at you. They'll perfect example. They'll flipping follow you around the shop. Like, what the hell? Like literally. Like that's the worst one. Especially like, I was in a shop in Sheffield and one woman did it, and I was just like, you're literally being so like, you're not being subtle at all. Like, come on. Yeah.
How would you compare British racism to foreign racism, like in terms of what you've seen, or whether you've gone on holiday and experienced it as well?
Yeah, we was in Croatia, didn't we?
Oh yeah, it was crazy. We got stared at like all the time. And we was in like a small village, like island.
Yeah.
And we just got stared at like the whole time. It was just so uncomfortable. It was just like, why are these people staring at us?
What do you think it is about the small villages compared to the big cities?
I think with Croatia, like they were communists for like a really long time.
Yeah.
Okay.
So I think.
And everyone said we competed in Italy in 2018.
Yeah, oh my god.
Everyone said
and
how
when I was in
happy we were.
Colombia too, like apparently they was doing like monkey chants to a couple of people.
Oh yeah, on the bus. Yeah.
Other than in Croatia though, I haven't really experienced anything. Not that I can remember, I don't think.
Yeah. Like recently. Even like
not that I can remember, I don't think. But like that's the thing, like I might have, but you know, it happens all the time.
You normalise it all the time.
Brush it off, don't you? Like when people say like stuff about just like dumb stuff, I'm just like, what?
Because you both wrote dissertations on race in some way, didn't you?
Yeah.
So mine was about the Black Power movement.
Okay.
It was about.
So let people know what is the Black Power movement. What was that all about?
Yeah. So we were saying this actually, like, so first we wanted to do it on like the Black Panthers. And after the film came out, people just thought I was on a
Oh, right. Oh, dear.
I was like, I mean, I love you for that, but like, no.
But it's actually more of a reason for you to show it, because it's actually more than just movie.
They're like,
definitely.
So they were like a political organisation, like post Martin Luther King. And they were just like so cool, like they did like really, really cool stuff, like free breakfast clubs, they did transportation, free food, education, like they did loads of really cool stuff like for the communities, for black communities.
Right.
But they have like a really interesting legacy because they carried guns around with them. So they were to arm themselves. They were very like military. They were halfway between like very like militia inspired, but then very kind of like Maoist and communist inspired.
Okay.
But they were like insanely clever people, and they kind of got vilified for being this kind of like terrorist group. Whereas like they were a lot more than that, and they kind of got like victimised and stuff like the FBI.
Right, okay.
But I think over the last couple of years, from the Black Lives Matter movement, they've been seen in like a new light, because it's just like actually like
People start to understand what they were trying to do there.
yeah, they weren't just violent; they were so much more than that. So I wanted to do it on them guys kind of, and then but I just wanted to do it about music too. So I did about like how unity, assertion, and Black is beautiful were like dominant themes within politics, art, and music in the Black Power movement.
Okay.
So the Black Power movement is massive. Like it's just so big. There's so much different sides to it, and so I've kind of honed in on like those things, and then like talked a lot about that. So yeah, that's what I did with this thing.
What do you think, out of everything that you've learned in Galaxy, what one or two things do you think really stood out for you?
I think it was like
Something that you learned that you didn't really understand properly till you read it and be like, oh, okay, this is what it really meant.
I think like over the last 3 years of being at uni, I think just the way in which history is told, like you're always told that Martin Luther King was this like really good guy, but actually, yeah, he was, but he fits into the agenda of being like that meek, conservative black
Right.
person who won't really like rise up to a sense of like violence, will just kind of like preach and do it in like an appeasable way.
Right.
Whereas like the Panthers were like way more radical and way more like we're not putting up with this. They did like just loads of like really cool but militant stuff, and it's just like, no, you're not cool, you're violent, you're gonna make you like an example of like people not to follow.
Right.
And I think that was like so clear doing my dissertation, that don't read what history tells you, like read it between the lines.
Right.
Especially like mainstream history,
Yeah.
like I mean, we're told over and over again how Winston Churchill was a great person, and like we all know that ain't true. But do you know what I
The
mean?
thing is, unless if you don't do research, you'll never know.
Yeah, and
Well,
that's the thing
people
about
do-
history as well.
People do proper research rather than fit like an agenda.
Yeah.
That's
Yeah,
also the
because
problem.
exactly, if you're looking for something, you're gonna find it eventually.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Also, kind of the other thing on it was just how like incredible that movement was. Like, it was just so. Even though obviously it's like a horrible thing, like they went through so much oppression, but there's so much beauty in what came out of it and what they did. Like,
Right.
there's so much amazing community work, so much amazing music and art, and how they uplifted communities and asserted themselves. I think I ended it with saying that they found their identity and asserted themselves from being just second-class citizens to being, what, we're black and beautiful, we're powerful,
We're proud.
we're this and that. And it was like just amazing to kind of like learn about that every day. Like, I missed it and I loved it.
And now yourself, your dissertation.
Yeah, so because we go to different unis, so mine was structured quite a bit differently. So I did, for my final year, I did like Catholicism, so like the rise of Catholicism, from 1500 to like 1800, and it basically talks about the way in which Europe's relationship with like the rest of the world through like missionising projects. And I always wanted to do that because uni is so Eurocentric, like history in university is very Eurocentric, so you never really get to understand like New World Studies unless you learn it through a European lens. But this module particularly was like, it's quite a new like development, so you got to see a lot of the relationship between like New World and then Europe, but in an actual like history from below perspective.
Okay.
So from that, I like, there's so much problems with Eurocentric history. I could see that black people were defined by like one way. So they were either exotic or erotic, or they were saintly and godly, or they were like slaves. So basically my dissertation looked at the dichotomies of like blackness and how art represented the differences between how black was defined.
And what were you finding?
Quite a lot.
Surprising or expected or?
No, it wasn't surprising, because it wasn't surprising, but I kind of like unpacked the ways in which they did it. And it's literally insane. So for example, I went to Madrid in like like last year,
Okay.
and it's like the Museum de Prado, so it's like basically all of like the Habsburg sort of art and all of like the great Spanish like painters were there, and there's so many black people in it, but you can't see them, so they're made invisible. So like one section that I did was like invisibility and visibility, and they almost like make the blackness look like a caricature. So they'll add like really like pink lips or like a really big nose, and everything in the face is so deformed, yet it will be so hidden you can't see it at all.
Unless you're looking for it, yeah.
Yeah, literally. And then I found there was so many examples of that, and that was mostly with like the Three Kings, like the story of the Three Kings, and then there's like the three of them, and they bring different sort of like gifts.
Okay.
The black, because there was one supposed to originate from Africa, which is Balazar, which is the one that is depicted in the art, and he's almost always invisible completely. Yet there's also in like South America, predominantly like Mexico and Brazil, there's huge like shrines of like black saints, and they're so visible, and they're literally confraternities, and there's like loads of like priesthoods where for people in that community where they've just converted to like Catholicism, who are missionaries, they use like blackness as like their identity, and they are like a huge part of like religion. So it was like basically looking at the narrative that art gave, and then how it actually affected perceptions of like blackness. But it was a huge like thing to do, because I could have gone on forever and ever and ever.
That's the thing though, like
There's
they tell you
so
when you
much,
start your station, they're like,
oh, 10,000 words.
they're like, honestly it's not much, and you're like, bro, like it's like 15k words or 10,000.
10,000, yeah.
And then like you're like halfway through and you're like, oh my god, just give me 10 more, like, because you can say so much.
Yeah. Because there's so much that we've not heard as well. It's nothing like everything you say is, although it's happened, it's new because nobody actually knows. They've never included it in like curriculum or anything like that. You don't see that around.
Yeah.
Yeah, I definitely, wow, respect to you for doing that then. How did you find it? So would you say, I'm guessing you definitely, have you done more research as in general for your own, your own interest outside of it as well, I'm guessing?
I did all my own research, like I didn't get help from anybody, because there was no help to be given. Like, only because, like, this is what I mean with academia, like it's so Eurocentric, they just don't have the breadth of resources to actually provide a useful amount of like black history in whatever sense, like in black British history. American history is probably the most, but again, like as you said, it's got that conservative agenda where it's actually not good history. There's like hardly anything on like African sort of like history, especially the period that I did. And so you have like this complete wealth of resources for like, let's say like Nazi Germany, or like for example the suffragettes, but there's no intersectionality between like race and gender, or like working class class and gender, or class and race. There's no like linear sort of academia. Well, in my uni specifically.
Yeah, I feel like our uni was a lot different. I think like mine, like they were like really cool about it. Like they wanted to help. They'd research themselves and send me things, or they were just like really cool about it. Like I had a lot of love for them, for like how they helped me, and also it's not even how they helped me, but how interested they were in it. Like
were your lecturers white people who were
yeah. So one does a lot of stuff about Black Germany, and then the other guy does a lot of stuff about America, but I think he specialises in the Middle East.
Okay.
And yeah, they were just like really cool, like really cool. But a lot of people in my uni kind of were. But we also go to very different unis. Uni is like way more different to Sheffield Hallam. There's a massive difference between the two.
Yeah.
How different would you say the police are in terms of the UK and America?
Like we've never had any run-ins with the police.
Yeah.
And I don't know whether that's because we never went out.
Yeah. that's also. We don't know why you can't catch you, can we?
We never went out. Also, like, I don't know if it's because, I don't know. I think because we never really went out. I don't know because it's a small town. We don't see them around as much. Okay. So I don't really know, to be honest.
I'm guessing you've had stories from friends and families who.
Yeah, I've heard loads. I've done research into a lot of kind of stuff to do with police too. So
Would you say that the police match the countries in a sense that America, everyone's outgoing, loud, and that's such, so it's obviously they're more violent in that sense compared to the British, where they're more reserved?
Yeah. So I think, I remember someone telling me recently that he's been pulled over by the police twice, and those 2 times it was when his friend was driving, who was mixed race, and that's the sort of thing, like, I feel like in this country, if they were to do it, it would be like the invisible sort of racism that they'd do. They'd be like...
But that's the whole thing with the UK though, it's like race and gender pay gaps. It's like not admitting like admissions and then not helping like BMA students in...
I think you never see that as well because, I just get to use move on and do whatever.
And you don't even look into it unless, because it's a big thing to look into, there's no real like people or like...
who wants to support you in the first place?
Exactly,
You're on your own.
So like with the police, like there's probably, I don't actually know for a fact, but I'm guessing because it's an institution, it's a bureaucracy, that there's so much ethnic and like race and gender pay gaps in there. There's probably so much like glass ceilings for like gender and race. Within America, they're way more. It's an institutional problem as a whole to use violence against like black people or even like any ethnic minority. Whereas I think in the UK, it's an institutional issue to discriminate in a way that they can't see it, but will actually detrimentally impact like their like standard of life or like living.
I think. But to answer your question, I do think it would match different types of racism.
Yeah.
So obviously we saw what happened with George Floyd recently. What were your takes on all that?
Oh, it's
the first time you saw it, the first time you heard of it.
Yeah, I was just like...
That's the thing, I'm laughing because it's a joke, like it is the biggest joke. I remember, Sandra Bland I think it was like 2015.
Yeah, that was a while ago, maybe 40 years.
Yeah, and I remember seeing that and being like, I can't believe that just happened.
So those who are watching don't know what happened in that.
Okay, sorry, so
she got pulled over.
But
prior to this, like she did loads of like Instagram sort of stories, Facebook videos.
She was quite big on Ferguson, wasn't she?
Yeah, but
she based here in the US or?
Sorry, the US. Yeah.
She's like a big like kind of like activist with videos and stuff.
Yeah. And then she got pulled over, and then she was like taken to like the like county or whatever prison, and there's so much conspiracy speculation because she looks dead in her mugshot. So and then she had died later on like that.
Right.
Day.
Okay. Yeah. And
so
there's talk about that.
Yeah. So there's a lot of conspiracies. Did they beat her up and then kill? As in they killed her and then took the photo.
Yeah.
And I remember like this being, and I was so like surprised and like alarmed by it. And this back to this whole rhetoric about America, they sell themselves as like the Disney Channel, and then you actually see that happening. Yes. And then when it gets to George Floyd, like you literally are numb because the week before was
Breonna Taylor.
No, Breonna Taylor was week before, and then there was
the one from the UK, wasn't it? The lady, I forgot.
Belly. And then there was
the guy jogging. On the harbour.
Yeah. So it's just like you literally get to a point where it's literally it's a joke.
And then even like a couple of days ago, there was a guy.
Blake.
Yeah. So it's just like it's a continual thing, and it's like how are you supposed to react when like people are dying like
it's normalised. That's the problem.
100%. It's 100% normalised.
And then at the same time, like. So George Floyd started off this whole movement. It's just like, this is not new.
Yeah, Trayvon Martin.
This is only being filmed, and it's a horrendous footage, and it takes that horrendous footage to think, oh, wow, racism's probably racism has not.
A problem.
Do you know what I mean? It's not something new, like at all.
It's like, do you remember that Love Island, like with Smira? Like, how did people obviously clicked?
Smira, you wonder as well when she came.
Yeah, I forgot about that.
Oh, she looks too dark, she looks too this. What do you mean? Like, what's wrong with you?
But also, the ethnic people always get picked last. And that says so much more.
It's a microcosm, 100%. Yeah.
Like, I feel like I hate Love Island, but if you want to understand what society is like, watch it because it is really accurate about a lot of things.
Yeah.
And I think so. With the whole movement that came after it, you kind of like you are so ignorant to think that. To a lot of people, like this is a thing that's happened. Yeah.
Because both of you guys went to the March in Sheffield, didn't you?
Yeah.
How was that?
It was really good.
It was good. Yeah.
We know like a couple of people that did like talks and stuff, and kind of like marching like through the city,
Yeah.
which is cool because I lived like around that area,
Okay.
like first year of uni, and to do it there was like really cool and important, I think. So yeah.
Because what scared me was the fact was that happened, and everybody was talking about it. Everyone was having the whole movement,
Yeah,
and
the
then
black squares and that.
yeah, and all that stuff. And you saw it in Washington, like the of Black Lives Matter, BLM, we've been screaming that for 2-3 months now.
Yeah.
And we had what happened recently with Mr. Blake. You're thinking,
Yeah.
so all of that was worth for a reason.
Yeah.
So
Definitely.
like, and the thing is, like you said earlier, it's not the first time it happened in the 90s, 70s.
Yeah.
And Martin Luther King and all of it. So it's like, when's it actually going to stop? When's it going to
Yeah.
stop? Because I don't know when. I don't know what to say about it. What do you think?
Because I had exams like when it was like as in the start of June,
Right.
and it was exhausting. Like it really was exhausting. Like you couldn't stop looking at like social media to see like what was happening.
Yeah.
But
That's
then
another thing.
you had so much PTSD from just looking at it, because I think you was reminded of how your experience was actually racism. Like back to what I was saying at the start, when you just pass something off as like it just been a bit odd, and then he was like, nah, that was like full on discrimination. And then I feel like you got to a point, I think we definitely were talking about this, where you was just like, you didn't know what to do. Like,
Yeah.
you'd signed as many petitions as you could, you've donated to the money, you've like been to the march, you've told people about it, and yet there's nothing that's
That is
actually happened.
Yeah. Nothing's gonna change the way you feel because you've been brought up in it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just
Yeah.
the rest of the world that are
That's coming
waking
along
up to it. Do you know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Definitely. And the thing is, it's not our problem in the sense that
No, it's
it's
not.
not our problem.
Yeah.
Like I'm not the one who's been racist, and
Yeah.
I can really tell someone who's racist like what they did is wrong, and it's up to them to change. And you can't
Yeah.
force them to change if they don't want to change.
Yeah.
I think all we can do is just like uplift young people and be like, the world is like this, but you're really cool and you need to keep on being
Yeah.
cool
Yeah.
because I'm going to give you the confidence that a lot of people don't give you.
Yeah. This is why
So-
that's the thing about how representation matters. Like Chadwick Boseman, like everyone was like we were saying, like back when Black Panther came out, it was a huge thing. Like it was such a movement.
Right.
Like everyone went to watch it. Everyone was
100%.
talking about it.
It was such a
vibe.
Yeah,
Like
100%.
it was amazing. Like everyone was like,
Everyone was
yeah. It was so
It was
like
so
good.
I was even saying that there was a time in like I'd watch competitions and like most of the black girls were wearing braids and I knew it was down because of Black Panther.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so cool.
Yeah. Like they feel proud to be black again.
100%.
Yeah, and like Marvel's like big time anyway, and the
Yeah.
way that they're like bossing up that.
Did you get me? I was shocked. I was
So
shocked.
good. So good.
And like Kendrick on the album.
Yeah,
too.
Scissor, everyone was, yeah.
Like it was
crazy.
such a time to be alive, and like
Yeah. And even like the Beyonce, have you seen the Beyonce's like?
Yeah, with Lion King.
Yeah. And like her visual album, like
Yeah,
It's
she went to Ghana, she
amazing.
went to Nigeria, it was crazy.
Yeah, so like that was like defo like a thing, and like that's why it's important to see yourself reflected because it's like
you're not gonna get it from anyone else. Like it's
yeah,
like if you trust Chesterfield to give it you, you're not gonna get it. Do you know what I mean?
Don't get it twisted. Don't get
Literally,
it twisted.
literally.
so yeah, I think there was like a Virgin Media advert that my friend's cousin did, and it was this like this ginger mixed race girl from Liverpool, and I saw it like on a Saturday night, and I was like this is the most incredible thing because you don't see black northerners represented on like TV.
Right.
Yeah.
And I was like, that is so beautiful because it's like people can see themselves and they don't normally see themselves.
Yeah.
So yeah, like representation is
It's so